believe in a place called Hope too, and this is a great story of hope. Would you greet a wonderful panel we've got here? Magdalena has brought her friends along board. Colleen Blake Miller with Maggie, Cheryl Nembhard. Yeah. It is always hopeful when women get together. And,
yes, it is.
But this is a special group because there's been a beautiful photo essay called Her Story in Black. It profiled 150 Black women who are leaders in the GTA in the Toronto area. And these are three of our very favorites. But of course, I'm first going to give you the nod, Maggie, because of your wonderful work with the Baby Depot. You were honored for this.
Yeah.
And Cheryl, you have gotten a great arts community going in town, and they loved all your community activism work. And we should say about Cheryl, you've also just received the Harry Jerome Award for Social Activism. Yeah, it just was announced a couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
And that's the Black community's highest award.
Highest national award.
Yes.
And so I'm the 2017 recipient for social advocacy, changing my city and my world.
Okay, that is so powerful, and we're going to find out how you first had to be changed so you could change the world around you. And Colleen Blake Miller, a psychotherapist. Let's start with you. You tell me a little bit about what it meant for you to be honored in a community setting like this as Black sisters all together.
You know what? So many things go through your mind in the setting that it was. It was a very charged atmosphere. And in the midst of the celebration, I remembered the little girl sitting in, school in Ottawa, all a fairly predominantly white school, always being the only Black child. If there was ever a Black person to walk in the school, they always assumed it was a relative of yours. Like, that's how, there was no diversity. So it's just the opportunity to be celebrated for making a difference in my community. I thought to myself, I felt like God was really kind of just speaking to me in that moment and saying, you know what, this is for your daughter. This is for your children to remember, that they know you can do great things to affect your community and affect the history of your country. So.
Wow. Yeah. And Maggie, you and I talked off camera, and let's just call it what it is. I'm kind of jealous as a white sister that I didn't get invited to the Black Sisters event. But why, Maggie, is it?
You are honorary member.
But this was important to you as your community, Maggie. Help me understand why this was so important to be recognized as the Black community.
Yeah, and I challenged you, Lauren. I said, ask us, why is it important to shout out 150 Black women in Canada? And I think it's because media, and you've talked a lot about this, sometimes, we get this a negative connotation about our community, and to show the rest of the world that we have such amazing stars in our community. Like, I was meeting neurosurgeons and like women doing amazing things. Like, I can't even think of all of the things so many amazing things.
Jean Augustine was there.
Jean
the
Augustine
first
was
Black
there.
member of Parliament.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, again, we have so many people and so many amazing women with amazing stories that don't get highlighted.
And would this not be the first generation that we are highlighting it like this?
Yes,
I think so.
I don't think your moms had this kind of chance to gather like this. They were still pioneering.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. And I think you would both agree that this was not just for our community, even though it meant a lot to see each other, but I think this was meant for the outside community to see that we have so much value. And especially for the national broadcaster to acknowledge and see that we all have a place at the table and we all have a voice, and we're doing amazing things in day-to-day work, in the day-to-day, every fabric of our society. There are Black women leading the charge as well. And we need to see that.
Okay, but it hasn't come easily. I mean, all of our lives have challenges, but I want to hear now about overcoming to the place. Like, what kind of things, what kind of barriers do you move out of the way? And Cheryl, I said to you, you are our Les Mis girl. But let's just explain a little bit. What kind of barriers did you have to overcome in your life?
In my life, there were barriers of sexual abuse, gang life, drugs, government housing, single parenthood, fatherlessness. I am the poster child of overcoming obstacles, and all credit goes to the Lord, because without him I would not have.
How did you discover Jesus?
On the street.
How so?
by a street evangelist. I was literally witnessed to on the street.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I had fallen away from my...
One of those crazy street evangelists like
Not
we are
crazy.
on TV. No,
he was just passionate, young guy, really on fire for the Lord. And I had grown up in church, but I had left it because of some of the abuses that I was suffering were at the hands of members of the church. So it really warped my view.
Yeah.
But I learned something along the way that because of the struggle and because of all that I've gone through, I had to reconcile within myself, and this is kind of back to what we were talking about, that I have earned the right to be in that space. And there's a difference between walking through an open door, Lorna, as opposed to knocking on a door and asking permission. And when you talk about Black history and you talk about as a month and a celebration, you talk about these sort of awards and so on, why? That's the question that everyone would ask. Why? Well, because if we're still knocking to get permission to access the room, then we're not in full ownership of the space. We are on loan to the space. We are here by a season and moments, but we want to rightfully just live there without feeling like we are guests in our nation.
Okay, you're both, you're nodding yes, yes.
Totally.
That's what racism feels like.
It feels like that, yeah.
Oh, totally.
Wow.
I've said on the show before that I am not a supporter of Black History Month because I think we need to be a part of the day-to-day dialogue. I feel like Black History Month is this constant knock that we've now been permitted to allow
one little month.
to enter into the shortest month of the year. But when you open the door wide and you say there is room for all of us, that we can all come in, that we have a place 365 days of the year, that makes a change. And that changes your daughter's trajectory.
Absolutely.
So that when and changes your children's trajectory and sees and their vision of what they can be and what they can do.
Okay.
You got very talkative women together.
Sorry, we'll keep it going. But Colleen, I want to go back to that little girl who was in the classroom feeling like, and you were the only.
Alone. Yeah. Which I was. Yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
so you start walking with Jesus. What difference did it make?
So for me, it continues to affect how I see myself. We all have the negativity, the lies, regardless of your background.
Your color.
Regardless of any of that, the enemy's out to get you. He is. His mandate is to kill, steal, kill, and destroy.
Yep.
So he attacks the mind. And so for me, within the context of being a Black woman, I hear a lot of, you've got to be better than the next person, twice as good, right? And all these kinds of things. But regardless of being Black or not, the enemy is attacking our mind. And so for me, I definitely see how Christ has helped to renew my mind and continues to daily, even at 39 years old.
Let's talk about our spiritual practices. Let me hear your practices as leaders, as women. What are you doing to stay anchored in Jesus? Cheryl, let's start with you. How do you dial down every day for that realignment with God?
I walk in a daily posture of humility, and I recognize that I am here only because of grace. I have nothing to bring to the table except what God has given me. I live in daily prayer and devotion, but more importantly, and I want to just encourage the women of all colors, I surround myself with those that support and celebrate. So important that we're not in toxic groups of people who are quietly hating, and we call it hating, bringing you down, but really are celebrating as we are celebrating one another, pushing each other forward, iron sharpening iron.
Maggie, I've never asked you, how do you keep in touch with God in all your leadership?
Yeah, I think it's daily prayer. I think it's daily devotion, and I think it's grace. Yeah. And knowing that I walk in grace, and I have to show grace as well. And I love that daily posture because I've learned to have a daily posture of listening as well. And just, that's part of my prayer is that God, that I will be able to hear and listen to your spirit and be keen to that voice. And I think that changes the way you see things, the way you act, the way you hold yourself, because you're looking through a different lens.
And what do you tell your children about how God made them? What do you say to your kids? Want to pick that one up there, Colleen?
Yeah, I know, the one with 4 kids.
You have the most children.
Go big families, go.
So you know what? It's the same thing I have to say to myself every day is sometimes the actual sitting down with your Bible time devotion is rough, but it's a daily dialogue with God. That's what we need. We need to be examining the thoughts, the feelings, and really, is that God? Is that God talk, or is that, you know, the oppositional talk coming at me, and challenge whatever is not coming that's of God, you know?
Cheryl, your mom role, what do you do for those kids to
I
be
tell them
anchored
that
in
they're
God?
fearfully and wonderfully made, that they are world changers, that God does not make any mistakes. He never has, never will. And that they are born to reflect the glory of God and to be light bearers. Never dim your light to make others comfortable. Be proud and humble, but really celebrate what God is doing in your life. Just if He's made you a great athlete, be that. If He's made you a great leader, be that. If you're quiet, be that, and be okay. Don't compromise who you are to fit in.
Wow. Well, listen, everyone, you saw the pictures, but Google Her Story in Canada. It's a wonderful honor to have all three of you as award recipients. Thank you so much.